All right, we ready? And grab your bag and go. That's it. Move, move. Go, 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 go. One, Armani suits and run.
Manager to cash register. Manager to cash register.
All right. Welcome to the 2025-26 season for Armani Suits and Run. This is the week one podcast, recording during the Thursday night game. Eagles and Cowboys currently going at it. All right. Let's before we get into the picks, we can just kind of lay the groundwork for the season. Pretty much keeping things relatively the same from last year. So I'll do a quick recap of last season. Week 18, because we didn't really do a pod to kind of cap things off. But week 18, we went 3-2. I was on the Chiefs plus 10.5. They got the doors blown off by Denver. Kieran, you were on the Jags plus 5. You won that. Bowen, you were on the Panthers plus 8. I think they won outright.
Yeah.
We collectively went with the Pats plus 2, which was a win. And then we took the Vikings plus 2.5, which was a loss. Finished out the season 45-2. Was that the exact same record as the year before?
It was extremely close. There may have been like
better than
more
I think
push
either of
or
us.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Wait,
In
is
terms
this
of
is this year 4 of doing this?
Maybe
3?
for this iteration, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess you guys were doing this for a few years before, right?
Yeah. Yep. In terms of individual picks, Kieran, you were the individual winner, the medalist, with an 11-7 record. I was in second with an 8-2 record, and then Bowen, you were last, 6-12.
Okay.
You were slated to make the trip to Vegas solo, but having just had a child, and as it just so happened, I was on the West Coast, was able to pass through on my way back. Parlayed the trip into a Backstreet Boys concert at the Sphere, which was fantastic, and a beef Wellington at Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, also fantastic. So I was happy to stand in and do the work for you. Got us signed up. We're ready to roll into the season. So approach will be the same. Kieran will spin the wheel. That will determine the order that we pick for the individual picks. And then we will spin the wheel to determine the order for picking the primetime games. We'll do the Sunday and Monday. The Costanza rule is in effect. So we'll announce that at the top of the season. If in any of the primetime games where we're all picking the same game, we are all on the same side, we will automatically reverse the pick in the spirit of George Costanza and doing the opposite. So that's pretty much it. Anything else to cover before we get into it and kick this thing off?
Do we before we get into it, it just came to my mind. Do we have like a sneaky pre-wedding show, or would we maybe record early, or do we just like rip a pod like right before Kieran's wedding, like in the hotel room, like Thursday night after all the
What if we
festivities?
What if we should invite everybody at the wedding to a live taping
Yeah,
of the show.
We can really take over that whole weekend.
We rent out like a local theater and host a live pod.
Yeah, we'll have to
So-
figure something out. And, logistically, we are definitely not set up to put out like an actual listenable show. We have, I think, one microphone between the three of us, so we might have to figure some things out there.
We could
calls
maybe
for an early
loop in
recording or what, but
we could loop in Mike Bowen Photography to handle the videography for the
yeah, I
for the
mean,
pod
he could
recording,
kind of
maybe.
produce that episode if we wanted to try and do something. But yeah, I think really it just comes down to getting 3 mics that we can speak into. I think that's really the biggest issue. Anything else, we could just record it.
Shit. Well, that'll be a great weekend, great night, great couple nights. But
Yeah, walk away.
yeah, that's it's coming up soon. Abby and I were talking about it today. I gotta get fitted for a tux, like
Yeah.
big way. Big
Yeah,
way.
yesterday was a month out, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's time. I have to go this week sometime.
All right, we're going over to the wheel.
Kieran, dad just texted me to tell me no boot camp tomorrow.
All right.
As if I don't know that because I'm alone with Cleo
How does he know?
and can't. Well, no, because they have Albert and I've got Cleo and Sarah's not here. But it's
Yeah.
like he's texting me to remind me not to leave Cleo alone and go to boot camp in the morning.
Oh. Oh.
Like, like it's like, yeah,
Yeah. All right, to the wheel.
yeah, let's do it.
It's good to be back, boys. Really good to be back. Nice.
All right.
A lot of pressure. Um, all right, let me pull it up. All right, I'm going Seahawks plus 2.5 over the 49ers. I think for me, this is more about what I believe the 49ers aren't, at least right now at the start of the season, than what I believe the Seahawks are. Pretty much had just, I mean, in some ways, maybe like an even swap of QB wide receiver one. Gino and DK Metcalf out the door, Sam Darnold and Cup come in. I mean, obviously, Cup's not like a number one. JSN is now, but I think Cup's still got a lot in the tank. Feels offensively, I feel like they're still in a really great position. I think Darnold showed last year he could play really well, especially when he's got weapons around him, which he does. The 49ers, though, like diminished at the wide receiver position, with injuries, guys out. CMC just popped up on the injury report with a calf. Hard to know like what that is, but just kind of given some of the issues he had last year, with the Achilles stuff being out for a while. They just seem like they're kind of limping into the start of the season here on the road in Seattle. Seattle's getting points. I like them. I think they can win this game outright. Yeah, San Francisco to me just feels like they got a little bit of a stink on them to start the season. So I like the Seahawks here.
I uh I really didn't have this game too close to my brain when I was going to the card, but um I thought the line did kind of stink a little bit. With it being, I know the Seahawks are at home, but that being that 2.5 line definitely you know, made me think a little bit, on it. I do think what you didn't touch on it much, but I do think with the new offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, he's a much more run heavy guy, and I know that Ken Walker has been getting some really good reports, as well as the Gray Zabel, the new guard they just drafted in the first round, pretty high. I guess he's been an absolute fucking stud. So if they're able to run the ball on these Niners, who maybe come out the gates a little hobbled already with CMC. Obviously, you don't have much info on that, but if they're able to control the ball and let Darnold get off that play action, and sling it, with a pretty clean pocket, they have competent players on both sides of the ball, and I think they could just catch them at home, catch the Niners at home, and get it off to a good start. So I like the pick. It's definitely thinking outside the box a little bit. So I like it.
Yeah, the CMC stuff that makes it really interesting to me. This was really more of like a game to observe though, because to me, like I think there's still something to see with Darnold, now that he's away from Kevin O'Connell following his breakout season, he's in a new team, in a new position, everything like that. I think a lot of people were counting him out when they moved on from Gino to go to him, which I thought was a little bit ridiculous. I think the two of them are a lot more similar than people were willing to accept at the time. So I mean, there was a big overhaul, right? JSN, he seems to be getting a bit of a promotion in terms of where he's at on the depth chart. Cooper Kupp, what does he have left in the tank? There was some discourse about him online today, actually. A lot of that was because, when you look at Sean McVay, and then I'm blanking on the GM's name for the Rams, but they kind of plucked him out of obscurity. They turned him into a Triple Crown winner. And then they were willing to let him walk out the door and kind of eat a bunch of cash on the way out. So it is kind of interesting. It might say a lot about where they think he's at. That doesn't mean that they're correct. That doesn't mean that he can't at least be serviceable. But I do think that there is a lot to see with how the passing game looks. But with the running stuff, I do think that it's gonna look pretty good for them. I think a little common misconception about that run game is that Charbonnet is going to eat into carries. I don't think that's ever going to be the case. I think it's really going to be Ken Walker when he's healthy is going to have all the touches, and then when he gets hurt, which seems to be a little bit of a trend at some point in every season, that's when Charbonnet will step in, and then he'll just take on the bulk of those carries. He's like a true backup, more so than a complement. So, I think that it's definitely interesting. I think these are two teams that can kind of be boom or bust. Maybe it all works out, and they have a bunch of what's going on in this? Who's running this thing? But maybe, this is a division that could be a little bit of a powerhouse and kind of get some juice back. Or, maybe they fall off. I mean, I think that the Niners, they do have the pieces, and it sounds like they are motivated. Just listen to stuff like George Kittle talking on podcasts in the offseason. It sounds like they are motivated to kind of get back to where they were. So maybe this is the beginning of the end for the Niners, but also maybe this is an opportunity for them to get right on track. So, yeah, I saw this as much more of a coin flip, and I think that there's a lot to see from both teams. But I see both sides on the pick.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Let's go to Pickens here. Enough running the ball.
All right. Break down my name on the thing. All right. I was really between two that I liked. I do have my top three. I am a fan of all of them, but there were two, and I was kind of hoping that maybe I would go last to see if somebody would pick one of them and kind of take that decision out of my hands. But I do have a top option that is my very clear number one, and that is the Browns +5. I tweeted about them a couple hours ago, and I was starting to think about it. I'm not saying that they're like, a 10-11 win team. I'm not saying that they're a lock, but I do think that they could be a sneaky team that at least flirts with a playoff position. I mean, when you really look at it, why not? I mean, they still have Myles Garrett. They just added
Mhm.
Mason Graham to that defensive line. They have Denzel Ward, right? They have Grant Delpit. They have a pretty good secondary. And then you start to look at that offense. And of course, that run game, it's taken a step back, right? They let Nick Chubb go. Who knows how he's going to be doing this year? Oh man. And but they Jerry Jeudy had a really big season last year. Cedric Tillman, he was playing great up until he had a concussion that basically knocked him out for the rest of the season and really stopped things. But he was building a lot of positive momentum. Now they have somebody that they think gives them some consistency at quarterback, and that's Joe Flacco. Kevin Stefanski, he's a good coach. He's won Coach of the Year. He's proven that he can, go on good runs with this Browns team when he has a good roster that's all functioning together. I just think that they're a sneaky team that could win, 6+ games and all of a sudden coming down the stretch. If they can go on a run, I don't know what their schedule is actually looking like. I think they can at least flirt with a playoff spot. And then I'm looking at them going up against this Bengals team. And okay, they start off slow every year. They're trying to counteract that by they're playing in the preseason this year. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're just going to snap their fingers and be a lot better. I just think that they match up pretty well. I'm trying to pull up where is my one thing that I'm looking at is David Njoku, right? When Flacco was back on the Browns, Njoku, they played 5 games together. He averaged 6 catches on 9 targets or 78 yards per game, and he had 4 touchdowns in those games. Then you look at Cincy, who, okay, their defense was one of the worst in the league last year, arguably the worst, and they're really bad against tight ends. They had the sixth most targets against tight ends, third most receptions, second most touchdowns allowed against tight ends. I think that Flacco and Njoku can kind of get back on the same page, and they can kind of, oh my God. Did you guys just see that hit? But yeah, I think that Njoku and Flacco can get back on the same page. We know that Flacco, he can lock in on his top receiver. So Judy, of course, he's a really good separator. He started to break out last year. I think that they can get a little something going in the passing game, and it just depends on how this Browns defense can do to try and get a few stops against the Bengals offense, because of course that Bengals offense is going to play their ass off. But they did that last year, and they still missed the playoffs. So I think this Browns team can be sneaky. I don't know what that's going to turn into for wins, but I think that they can at least be a competitive bad team. So now I'm looking at them at home going against this Bengals defense, and I think that they can at least cover that 5.
I think I mean, I agree with you on the assessment of the Browns. I mean, I think we've been talking about this quite a bit. Like, you were the first guy to be on the Flacco line, in terms of being the starting QB at the start of the season. Um, Definitely think he gives them, their best opportunity to win. Obviously he's getting old, but the guy can still sling it. And I think, a guy that can throw it with weapons like Judy, which you talked about, and Joku, Tillman, and even though, like, what's the name of the guy that hasn't even signed yet?
Quinshon
They're
Judkins.
talking about, like, even though he's not there, like, they still have guys in the backfield that can run the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
Jerome Ford has been their starting running back for them at times. So it's not like they're just handing it over
yeah,
to Dylan Sampson, who, he may be good, he may be
yeah,
bad, but he's a rookie. We've never actually seen him play. But Jerome Ford
yeah,
has been a serviceable starting running back for them in this league.
yeah, yep. So, um, yeah, I mean, again, the only reason, and I had the Bengals on my card. I do buy, I know you touched on it. Like, I do buy into with them practicing, like, and playing in the preseason. I'm excited to see, like, I think they could come out and just start hot. And I definitely, like, even though this could be a competitive game, I still think they have the potential to score late, cover the spread, or just win by a touchdown. So it being a 5-point line, I think they could cover it. But I don't mind the pick here because I do think Cleveland can be competitive. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great game to watch too.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be excited to watch in this game on both sides. So, even though I had the Bengals on my card, you make a lot of good points about the Browns. So,
And they're plus 950 to make the playoffs. They have the second longest odds.
oh, really?
Yeah, which I mean, like to me, it just seems like a misprice. Like, yeah, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed hit or anything, but I think that's one of those where you're at least going to get a better run out of that bet for the value than you might with, some other random shit.
Well, the other thing too is now, like, there's what, three wild card teams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you go and you start looking across the AFC, like, it's hard to like, I can't really get excited about, I think it's the Texans division to win. I can't get excited about the Colts. Jaguars, maybe. Titans, probably a year away, with a rookie QB. Chiefs, sure. Chargers, Broncos, sure. Raiders, no. AFC East, I don't think has a ton to offer. I want the Pats to make the playoffs, but who knows? And then, like, I don't know. I'm not really thinking about the Steelers too much. So when I look at the AFC North, I'm like, yeah, the Browns, like, I think they could be in the mix.
Yeah.
I think they could be one of, three teams fighting for, like, the last, one or two spots at the end of the season, and be right in the mix for sure. So it's pretty good value.
Yeah, I mean, looking at their schedule, it's kind of just a mixed bag of, they have the Lions, the Packers, the Ravens. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think like teams like the Steelers, I think those are winnable games for them because those are going to be defensive battles. And we don't really
Yep.
know if the Steelers have a higher powered offense than what the Browns are bringing to the table right now. So, I mean, those are two opportunities they can go out and win. I'm looking at that Dolphins game. I think the Patriots are a team that they could definitely, play another hard-nosed game against, like the Steelers, the Jets the Titans. So I mean, like there are opportunities. So like I said, I mean, I think at the very least, with 4 to 6 weeks left in the season, you look at it and you say, I mean, shit, if the Browns could go on a little bit of a run, they might sneak in with 8 or 9 wins. Who knows?
I
This
mean,
game
the other
feels like
thing,
go ahead, Tristan.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm looking at their schedule, and I mean, they could very easily start the season 0-4. They
Yeah.
could, because it's Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, right?
Mhm.
But you might actually be able to get a great price there because then they go Vikings, Steelers, Dolphins, Pats, Jets. I mean, they
Yeah.
could be 5-4 at the end of that, you
Yeah.
know? So I think, it's one of those where, like, you could bet it now and then you might be gritting your teeth after week 4, but, like, you might still be in it too, and you might even get a better price if you're able to bet it after week 4. And then later in the season, I think there's another run in their schedule. Then they have a game against Baltimore, but then they get the Raiders, the Niners, the Titans, the Bears. Those games all seem winnable, and then they get the Steelers again at the end of the season. So And then you're playing Cincy week 18, which, Cincy's already locked it up. Who knows if they're going to play their starters, and if they're going for a playoff spot, they might happen to back their way in. So
Yeah.
seems possible.
Yeah, I mean, the
Oh,
only thing I really had for this game, really that line just kind of stunk to me. The 5 points, 5 points, right? Five flat.
Yeah.
I mean, that just kind
yeah.
of stuck out to me as a game that every casual bettor is going to be on the Bengals, I feel like, and everyone's going to look at that number. And the Browns are always catching shit in the offseason, like rightfully so. But everyone beats up on the Browns and shit on the Browns, and I feel like 95% of America is going to be on the Bengals to cover that number. So I think it's going to be a heavily favored game in that way, and usually, those games don't usually go too well for the public when they're hammering
Yeah, I mean this
hammering the
Bengals team
Bengals.
is a team that everybody loves, that everybody's kind of like riding high going into the season on. And then they're going against a team that is literally favored to be the second worst team in the league. And, it's only a less than a touchdown spread,
Yeah.
with that Bengals offense against a shitty Browns team. And yeah, it is just a little weird. And like I said, I mean, you just look at that Browns roster. I mean, that defense is good. I mean, they had, like I said, Miles Garrett, they added Mason Graham, they have a good secondary. And then you look at the offense and you say, well, that offense doesn't seem like, a three-win offense or anything like that. They at least have a little bit of juice. I mean, maybe it comes down to Flacco, right? Maybe Flacco comes out and he really shows his age, or he just plays sloppy because it's not like he plays perfect football. I mean, last year, what was he with? He was with the Colts, right? And he came in. They benched Anthony Richardson, and then Flacco wasn't really any better. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Flacco is the answer or anything, but. I think that he can give them some consistency, and then when James was playing, he gave them some juice, and I think Flacco can do the same. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, like the pick.
all right,
All
excellent.
right. Back to the wheel.
All right.
All right. I like the Rams -3 at home against the Texans. Uh, just to start with the Texans, I think they obviously have a lot of moving parts. They replaced basically their entire offensive line in the offseason. It felt like they have two rookie receivers who now with Christian Kirk, I think is going to be out for this week. Is probably going to be starting two rookie wide receivers along with Nico Collins. CJ Stroud obviously had a rough year last year, not being able to really get time in the pocket, and nothing about what they did to that O line really screams improvement as far as that goes. I mean, it's a whole new batch of guys, and maybe the culture I know was a big problem for them last year. If they're able to switch the culture, it may, over the course of the season, result in better play, I guess. But they got rid of Laramie Tunsil. He's now a commander who's a all pro type of guy, and they also don't have Joe Mixon for the foreseeable future to start the season, at least the first month. It sounds like, and beyond, depending. So it's a lot of moving parts for the Texans, especially against that Rams defense, who was kind of a buzzsaw last year with Verse and Brandon Fisk coming on. They really showed out in a lot of big games. They played some really you know impressive defense at times, and everybody around them kind of rallied around that D line, and they made a lot of plays. So with that, in the Rams offense, I think the whole Stafford back issue has been obviously a big talking point for the summer and the offseason. I do think of all weeks that I want to bet on Matt Stafford would be week one because he's clearly he got the epidural a few weeks ago, and I'm sure he's in some pain. But I have more concerns about his long term for the season over a 17 game season, and not as much in the first game of the season. I think he'll be able to come out and look like his old self. So I think the Rams will be able to put up points that they always do. I think the Texans have a lot of unknowns on offense. And I don't know if they're going to be able to hold the ball and move the ball enough against the Rams defense that was kind of rolling. I mean, the Rams were, I mean, if Saquon didn't go absolutely berserk in the snow game in that divisional round game last year, they could have very well ended up back in the Super Bowl there. They were playing at a really high level and almost beat the Eagles the last time they were playing. So I think 3 points is a fair number. I think they could cover that with relative ease, and I just see it being a game they just kind of take care of business.
Yeah, that was one of my picks. That was in my top three, and I think you really covered most of it. I mean, it was just such an overhaul. You have a brand new offensive line in Houston. You have no real semblance of a run game. I think a lot of people are trying to buy into Nick Chubb, but I think pretty much every report that I've ever seen has basically been like, yeah, like he just doesn't look the same. I mean, he looks fine if you're watching him go through a drill or something, but if you're down on the field and you're kind of getting, it's your job to be close to the action, kind of observe all these things. Everyone that's been reporting on it has made it sound like he's at least looking like he's taking a step back. So I don't really know what they're going to be able to do with that run game. Joe Mixon being so good last year opened up a lot. For them in terms of being able to win games, especially with how Stroud was not playing up to the same level that he was in year one. So I mean, hey, maybe this is what it needs, what CJ Stroud needs to get back to that level. But I think from a team winning standpoint, I think they're better off with a running back like Mixon in the backfield, or at least somebody that can bring that sort of production. So yeah, I mean, I like that. I mean, one stat that I like Devontae Adams to score a touchdown this week because the Texans were the worst defense against slot receivers last year. They allowed the fourth most receiving yards out of the slot and a league leading 8 touchdowns. So, Adams, he played a ton in the slot last year. That's where he kind of thrives at this point in his career. We know that the Rams, they like to move guys around. So I think Puka Nacua could also be a touchdown candidate there, which, I mean, of course, right, it's Puka Nacua, but I think for that reason, I think that they can just try and swap Devontae Adams in, put Puka Nacua into the slot, and then try and pick on these matchups and just really eat with those two receivers. So I could really see Stafford. Stafford's health. It's going to be one of those. I'm going to have to see it to believe it. Of course, there's been all the reports him missing time, the type of treatment that he's been getting, but we haven't actually seen him out on the field looking like he's in pain or looking like he's slowing down. So until I see that, I'm just going to assume that he still brings that same skill level. So I think it's a good matchup for that passing offense. I forget which type. I think it's I forget it. It's whatever type of run. Like I don't know if it was a counter run or outside zone or whatever, but whatever Kyron Williams runs the most, that's what the Texans defense is pretty weak against as well. So I think Kyron Williams can eat up a good chunk of yards too. So I think that offense can really be moving. And then they got a good pass rush, so I think they can try and take advantage of an offensive line that's still trying to get glued together. So yeah, that was one of my top three picks.
I like the pick. I didn't have it on my card. I think, for me, just kind of too many questions surrounding both teams. But I think you guys made some really good points, especially with some of the overhaul in the O-line, that usually can cause a lot of issues for an offense.
Yeah.
Just in section and I think too, like Mixon not being there, that offense probably just isn't going to quite look like it did when it was humming last year. Um, and I do like Kieran that Devontae Adams pick because I mean that's something too. Like I think this Rams team, like this is like they got to be thinking like they don't have that many more charges up the hill in them, especially with like Stafford at QB.
Yeah.
And you bring a guy like Devontae Adams in, with some of the talent you already have, and it's like you're trying to kind of add that like last championship piece, to make a run. And I could see where Stafford will want to try and get him involved early just to kind of help get him bought in. You get that week one score, you kind of get into it, get the vibes going, that sort of thing. So I like that anytime TD pick. I might use that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, one just like the slot matchup, and then just an example of how many slot snaps Adams gets.
Yep.
He on the Jets, he had 4.7 slot targets a game. Garrett Wilson was second on the team with 2.8. So I mean, you can do the math out over why I think he played like
Yep.
10 games at least with them. So he
Mhm.
led the team in slot targets by like a mile. So I mean, they brought him in to fill that Cooper Cup role. They
Yeah.
know that that's what he's strong at, and I think that they feel like he can accomplish what they need at a much higher level than Cup can in his career. So,
Yep.
obviously they feel good about that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those where it's like their strengths are meeting the Texans' weaknesses, and I think it's going to play into their hand.
Yep.
And they're
Like
at
it.
home, right? So, yeah, I like that more.
Yep. All right.
All right, so now we're
Back
doing
to the
the
wheel.
Sunday
Do
night
the
game.
Ravens
So I'm
roll.
going to spin the wheel. That's going to start the conversation. I think in years past, I might have spun the wheel, deleted the name of that person. I'm kind of thinking we just keep all three
Yes.
names on for that because all we're doing is starting the conversation. It's not like the first person's pick actually holds any more weight. So
Yeah,
I'll,
that's
I'll
fair.
just run the same wheel back twice for the primetime games, and then we'll just we're just having a vote. So
All right.
all
Wow.
right.
Oh, a lot of pressure.
I uh I like the Bills. Um I think the Bills, if I had to pick gun to head, I think it's their year if it were between the Bills and the Ravens to make that next step. I think uh I think they're a bit I don't know if they're better than last year. I think they're just very, very similar to last year. And I mean, remember that Chiefs game? They 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 should have won that game. I think they were the better team. I think they're going to bring a lot of what they were doing last year, translate right over. I know the Ravens are an elite team. They pretty much the same team as last year as well. A lot of good players on that team, but I just think the Bills. I think the Bills win this one relatively handily. Just to start the season off, it just feels right in my head. Feels right for for what I project the how the season to go. I think it's the Bills' year in the AFC, so I think they're going to come out, start hot, and just roll this year.
Relatively handily too, not just win, but
I think I don't know why. I just it's a gut thing. I don't want to look too far into it. It's just how I feel. I think they come out hot, and I think they roll all year. Um, it just feels like their year.
What I just realized is that I actually have to delete it because we spin to continue talking in that order. So
Oh yeah.
we will go back to the wheel, get the next take in.
whew. All right.
Well, we're not going to have a Costanza roll because I'm on Baltimore here. I mean, this is what people were saying last year about the Bills. So maybe I'm just wrong, but with that offense, I'm just not necessarily seeing it. I mean, I don't really know what the deal with Khalil Shakir is. I know he missed a good chunk of this preseason with some sort of ankle injury. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen, he can do the Superman act. We saw him do it last year. That's why he won the MVP. But I do think that there is just something missing on that Bills offense. And I think that James Cook, he's due for some touchdown regression. I mean, he led the league in touchdowns last year. Before that, he was like struggling to put up five, six, seven touchdowns. So I do think that there might be a little bit of a step back, especially him coming off of that holdout for most of the season. I do know that he was able to get some practices in for the last couple of weeks, but I don't know. I mean, I just feel like, I was watching Hard Knocks. I watched the whole Hard Knocks season. I mean, there is that kind of aspect. I don't know how teams typically do now. I know that there was always that kind of talk of the Hard Knocks curse. But I mean, I hate to say it, and Tristan, you might take offense to this, but I'm kind of getting Max Homa vibes from Josh Allen. I was watching him
Whoa.
do an interview on Hard Knocks where it was like
That
a
is
total
brutal.
ball-washing interview where the guy's like, so what was it like watching Sinners and realizing you're the MVP winning
I
quarterback
saw
and you're not even
that.
the most talented person in your own marriage? And it's like, bro, get off his fucking dick. Like it was like stuff like that. And Josh Allen's like,
Was it a Barstool interview?
no, it was like some guy that was, there was some guy that went on to the Hard Knocks. I don't know who the hell he was. But I don't know if he's like a beat reporter or he's like NFL Network or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's like asking questions like that. Josh Allen's talking about how he like cried at the end of the screening for Sinners and stuff like that. It just feels like maybe he's too focused on being a family man. It's all about the memories. Maybe he's going a little Hollywood here. But I don't know. I just get a weird vibe from that team. I think that the Ravens are the team that's locked in. I think everything that Bowen's seeing with the Bills, that's what I'm seeing with the Ravens. I think that they're all business, right? I mean, you got Josh Allen. He's dating an actress. He's doing all this stuff. He's getting brand deals. He's dropping an Snickers buffalo sauce collab that Ravel's tweeting out. He's doing shit like that. Lamar Jackson just hoops. Like that's just like what he does. Derrick Henry spends millions of dollars a year on his body. I think that they're reloading a little bit. I think that they're ready to go. The Bills they ran zone coverage at like a really high rate, like over 60% of the time last year. That's kind of where the Ravens passing game thrives. I mean, like every receiver on that team is much better as a zone beater than man. I think that Zay Flowers is a really good pick for a touchdown here. I think that he's going to kind of eat against that Buffalo Bills zone defense. But I think any of them can really get it done. So, I mean, I think that they're going to be looking to pass it. I wouldn't be surprised if Justice Hill got involved. They were like a really generous defense to running backs, getting targets out of the backfield. And he actually had like 70 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown against them in the regular season matchup last year. But I mean, I think that the Ravens are the team that's out for revenge. I think that they're coming into play. I think that they're maybe a little bit sharper coming in where there might be more distractions between Hard Knocks and then everything that Josh Allen had going on this summer. I think that the Ravens, I think they're the locked in team. So I like them to, come in on the road as 1 point favorites right now. I don't know, maybe that line, I could see that swinging at some point. But yeah, I'm on Lamar here.
Do we go back to the wheel?
Yes.
Please.
I'm gonna spin it, then I think Stella might need water, so I can hear it.
Still start chirping at you.
I feel like digs in her bowl, so I can hear her pause on going against her bowl.
Dude,
So-
Millie will knock her bowl around like to like the living room until we give her water.
So passive aggressive.
It's ridiculous.
My cats just fucking meow their ass off. It's brutal.
All right, we're good.
All right. Um, I uh I'm seeing it the same way Kieran is. I'm on the Ravens. I think they're locked in. I think the way you were talking about it, Kieran, I'm like, it's giving me like Rocky 3, like Clubber Lang vibes. Like the Bills feel like Balboa, gone to Hollywood, not taking it the same. Meanwhile, you got the Ravens team, you got Lamar, they're in the gym just training. Like they're just coming, they're ready, they're locked in, um, looking to win. So I just the other thing too, like when I was just thinking about the teams, the rosters, especially the offenses, I'm like, and Karen, you kind of said it like like there's something I don't see with the Bills. But when I look at the Ravens, I'm like, they're just bringing that same offense back, and I think they're going to get better. Rashawn Bateman, they keep talking about his development. Like I know there's a lot of talk about Zay Flowers as the number one receiver. I actually think Bateman might be the guy this year. Like he was the deep ball threat last year. They say he keeps evolving. Derrick Henry comes back, just continues to look like an absolute fucking monster. You know, Lamar, what's Lamar won? Two MVPs?
Yeah. Should have been
And
3 last year.
Yeah, it really should have been 3.
could have been three last year. There might be a little bit of, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder.
People will argue though that he shouldn't have won the one the year before. So I think a lot of people on the Twitter streets they see it as even now.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I think there's going to be probably a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's got an opportunity to come in at Josh Allen's house, and kind of take that MVP belt back, So, I think they're going to come in looking to make a statement in prime time against a team that everybody, is going to be saying again, this is their year, just like you, Bowen. And I think the Ravens are going to come in and they're just going to be like, it's never going to be their year. And, it's actually going to be ours. So.
And the thing is, right, you were saying about Rashad Bateman maybe being the guy. The thing that is so underrated, and Bowen knows that I've been banging this drum for a couple years now, because I think the two of us, we've been some big Lamar guys. But Lamar Jackson can pass and he can support receivers. I mean, there are like debates I used to get into. Oh, Lamar can't support 1,000-yard receiver. But when you dig into the context and you look at, well, okay, he was supporting 1,000-yard receiver and then he got hurt and only played 13 games, or he threw to Mark Andrews for 1,000 yards. Like he can do it. It's just look at the list of receivers that he's had and tell me who is supposed to be getting 1,000 yards here. But now he has multiple guys. I mean, Mark Andrews, those days of the yardage are probably I mean, I don't even know what because he actually finished the
He
season
came
pretty damn strong.
he came on pretty hot at
Yeah, I
the
mean,
end.
he
Yeah.
set the record.
Also,
He
when
set the
you're
Ravens record for, or I think he would finish one short of the Ravens record for touchdowns in the season, everything like that. So it's like,
also
Mark Andrews.
when you're
So,
running for 600, 700 yards a season, like yeah, it's gonna be a little harder to support 1,000 yard receiver anyway because and it's not like he's running because he can't pass. He's running because he can fucking run.
but the thing is, even with that, he's gotten better and better and better. And since Todd Monken's taken
Yeah,
over as the OC
yeah,
in Baltimore, he's become
yeah,
much more of a passer. So I think a lot of kind of casual people, or at least people that want to be haters, they try and just look at what Lamar was 4 years ago, 5 years
yeah,
ago, and they ignore the development and the fact that not only can he run, but he can stand in the pocket. He's not just running out, moving the pocket. He can stand in the pocket. He can sling it. He can hit targets downfield. He can hit those throws that, guys like maybe Anthony Richardson can't. They're, really it's the short intermediate throws that those
yeah,
guys struggle with. Lamar Jackson can hit those. He's become a very good passer. So, I mean, I
yeah.
think Rashad Bateman, him progressing at the way he has, one, it's been his own personal growth, but I think it's also attributed to Lamar's growth as a passer that now it's not just one guy that he can support. Maybe they can't both hit 1,000 yards, but Zay Flowers and Bateman can both be 1,000 yard candidates at the very least. And maybe
Yeah.
he throws for, he flirts with 4,000 yards more so in the aggregate, and everybody gets 900, 800, 700 yards or something. But this can be a very high-powered offense, and I still think a lot of people, that public perception of them is a little bit behind of what they actually are. So, I mean, I think a lot more people are going to have to start appreciating what Lamar has actually become as a quarterback. So, yeah, now I'll send you guys the interview. Another clip that I thought about from that Josh Allen interview was him talking about, it's like, have you, and the guy, he's sitting there, and have you pictured yourself holding the Lombardi trophy?
Yeah.
And this is where I was really like, holy shit, he's become Max Homa because, he's got like a tear in his eye and he's like, yeah, I have. And I'm
Have you
just standing
pictured
there.
yourself making a cut at a major?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And, when he eventually loses in like the conference championship or something, it's going to be
yeah,
something,
yeah,
it's really the losses that you learn from, that type of shit. And
yeah. Well, I mean, it was like when Homa was at the Masters, not this past one, but the one last year before he like completely fell off. Going into and look, I'm saying this, and I'm a huge Homa guy, I still am, but going into that final round, it was like the cock gobbling from the press, and like having Homa get up there and just doing the whole like. I'm a dog. I know I got that dog in me, blah, blah, blah. Like, but no matter what, like, I'm gonna be proud of like the effort I put in, and then he gets to the 12th hole and
oh,
that was all she
that's
wrote.
where Minahan really started to turn me on him because it's like I started to hear that stuff. And you would
Yeah,
just say it's like, imagine like Tiger Woods saying that, like it would never happen, or like Freddie Couples saying
yeah,
that. Somebody said it's like,
yeah,
well, he's not that, but it's like I mean, it's just more so when we're talking about guys, and people were starting to act like Homo was like flirting with that conversation. It's like no, he's like 7 years older than his peers that you're comparing him to. It's like
yeah, yeah.
he's kind of at the end of that, and we started
Yeah.
to see maybe a little bit of a decline, but yeah, but
What was
those are just the vibes I'm getting with Josh Allen, where it's like Jesus Christ, like it's just fucking football,
yeah,
man. Like
yeah.
you're getting paid $60 million to fucking play football. It's like you don't really need to do this shit. Like
Well, this is where you could also start to bring in the whole, what Dana White says about Conor McGregor. It's awfully hard to get up and train early in the morning when you're sleeping in satin sheets,
yeah,
like. So, it's one of those things where like, it's not to say that Lamar's not, not getting paid himself, but like you said, Josh Allen's out there. He's doing all the Hollywood stuff. He's got the hot wife. He's got all this shit. Good for him, right? Good for him. But, who knows where that's taken him, mentally and, if he's kind of, I'm not going to say he's, like cashed his checks and he's, like not taking it seriously anymore, but does he have that edge? And can he actually get the Bills over the hump?
that
I
just
don't know.
reminded me too. When people do the whole like, oh, I'm Josh Allen, I am the MVP, and I have a hot actress wife. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah,
I just hate when
yeah,
people do. For all we know, she could be like a terrible person. Like she could just be like a
could
nag.
be.
And
Yeah.
I saw her have sex with
Well,
Michael B. Jordan on camera.
yeah.
What is that like? I mean, shit.
that was one of those trends where like I think the first two that I saw were funny, and then people kept doing them, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, because like
all
they
right,
do it for people, and it's like I don't know. I'm not like that envious of this person. Like
yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm a sinner's
yeah.
hater, but I am a True Grit lover, which she was in. So I think it evens out. But
I think I tried to watch Sinners and I gave up after 5 minutes.
I just wasn't into it. I don't know. I mean, I think part of it too is that I watched it late enough that it was kind of like it was just like so overhyped. And you guys know how my brain works, so I start to see that. I'm like, it can't be that fucking good. But I mean, I didn't. I don't think I let that cloud my judgment. But I did see that, and I was like, it's a fine movie, but then also just that's the thing. I don't think it sucks. I just think it's a fine movie. And when people were like, "This is cinema," it's like, what the
Yeah,
because
cinema.
there's just like there's so many like cinephiles on Twitter where it's like they like everything, and maybe I'm just like a miserable person that's like why do you like everything? But it's like there's some people where it's like how can I be like, oh, this person said it's good when they'd never say anything's bad. And it just seems like it's kind of like the four pins, the throwing fits, failing upwards guys. They used to call KFC, Kevin Clancy, they used to call him the general release god. Because like these guys, they'd be very into like the niche fashion stuff, and then KFC would be like, "Oh, these New Balance 550s are so fire," and like they're shoes that you can just like walk into Foot Locker and get. So
Yeah,
it's like KFC was always on top of the general release stuff, and that's what a lot of these people on
yeah, yeah.
Twitter are. Where it's like any big box office movie, they're like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever. Movies are so back." And all right, on to the Monday night game.
Let's do it.
And it's Vikings, Bears. Am I reading this right? The Bears are 1.5 point home dogs.
Yeah.
All right, Tristan, you started off.
Um, all right, I'm taking the Bears plus 1.5 over the Vikings. Um, JJ McCarthy at quarterback. I have questions. Um, I am excited about the talent that is around Caleb Williams. I'm excited about the fact that Ben Johnson is there and what he might be able to do with Caleb Williams, really help him kind of take that next step. I know he's taking a lot of heat, but like, I didn't think he was that bad last year. And they've just added more pieces. I I just I'm more excited about the Bears and what they can do in this game than I am about the Vikings. I don't think JJ McCarthy is going to be it for them. I think Ben Johnson, obviously, with all those pieces, like he must be foaming at the mouth to get going. It's got a lot of great pieces like he had in Detroit. I'm not saying that, Caleb Williams is Jared Goff, maybe not yet, but um, I think he can get the job done. And I think they'll find a way to help him get the job done. So, at home Monday night, it's going to be a big spotlight, but I think they've got the talent to get the job done. I like them getting the 1.5.
All right. Good. I was hoping to go last.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Tristan just said there. I'm going Bears as well. The JJ McCarthy thing, moving on from Darnold like that, I get it. You kind of have to do it when you have that much draft capital in the young kid. I never really believed in him as a prospect, as an NFL quarterback coming out of Michigan. I think he was more of a product of the team as a whole, and with a NFL head coach now, and a great defense. So not buying JJ McCarthy. I think it's a big spotlight for your first real start in the NFL. Don't want to look too far into it, but reports out of like the camp over the summer weren't the most glowing, even for people who probably would love to glow about him. It didn't seem like anybody was really coming to bat for him, and saying all these things, even if it wasn't true or whatever. Seemed like it was all sort of wait and see, or more negative than positive. Um, as far as the Bears go, I mean, Ben Johnson knows the Vikings really, really well. He's played them twice a year for the past 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. So he's very, very familiar with what they are, what they're going to try to do to his offense. And, he has playmakers all over the field. I'm sure he's going to use all these guys in different ways. I'm excited for the game. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. You never know when Justin Jefferson is just going to wreck a game. I guess that's on the table always, but I don't know if JJ McCarthy can get him the ball like that. So give me the Bears at home. Home dogs is always smelly. So it's the Bears. It's the Bears.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Right.
who was it? Diana Rossini. It was her and Colin Cowherd were like shitting on JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, yeah.
Miss Truda mattress.
Mrs. True Dematris. Schefter's little pond.
That's the young Sheldon, Big Bang Theory.
Uh,
All right, let's see who's going last.
oh boy.
All right, this is exactly why I wanted to go last because I was curious and I think it was a personal challenge to myself to stay true to my pick because this is something that we've talked about with the Costanza rule. You have to stay true to your pick. And my pick, I was on the Bears plus 1.5. So week one, we do have the flip. My initial read on the Bears, uh, two stats that I had put. JJ McCarthy, he technically is not a rookie, but he's making his first career start. And he missed all of last season. It's not even like he was a true backup. He's the first quarterback selected in the first round to miss his entire rookie season due to injury. But since 1970, rookie QBs playing on the road in Week One are 8-21 straight up, and they average 18 points per game. Ben Johnson or Chicago averaged 15 points per game on the road last year and 21 points per game at home. So they were stronger at home. Now they're bringing Ben Johnson as their head coach, and his offense scored 30 plus points in 5 of 6 games against Kevin O'Connell's Vikings team over the years. I think one thing that I was really looking at was that passing game. I think that there are some question marks with that Bears backfield for sure, but I do think that maybe they could fall into almost a similar thing that we're seeing tonight with the Cowboys backfield, where people are almost writing them off, saying, they're not going to run it. They're not going to run it. Ben Johnson hates DeAndre Swift. Maybe he sucks. They don't really have an RB2 right now. But I do think that he's a little bit better than that. Maybe that backfield's getting credit for. But also, I really like what the Bears can do out of the slot, and I think Rome and DJ Moore are two guys, kind of like I was saying about the Rams receivers, that they can work those guys into the slot and kind of seek out those matchups to try and get them the ball, get things into their playmaking hands. But of course, that is not who we're going to be going with now. We have to flip to the Vikings. So while I'm talking, I might as well give some of the arguments, I guess, for the Vikings. I think that that run game is going to be very strong. And we know that J.J. McCarthy has thrived in his football career when he has a really strong run game. One thing that I like to call out last year was that the Vikings hated throwing when they were like at the goal line. Anytime they were inside the five, I should say they hated running. Anytime they were inside the five, they threw it a lot. Compared to the rest of the league. And they threw at the tight ends a lot. So I think that that can open things up for TJ Hawkinson, who, he's coming back. He's going to be a little bit healthier than he was when he came back last year. With Addison out, Justin Jefferson missed a bunch of time in camp. I do think that Hawkinson and JJ McCarthy were able to build a little bit of a rapport. So that might come in handy on Monday night. But then also, because they didn't run it that much by the goal line, that's why they brought Jordan Mason in. So I think that Jordan Mason, the Bears, they faced the fourth most red zone rushing attempts. They allowed the second most touchdowns to running backs last year. I think that Mason could be a touchdown candidate. I think they're going to look to run a lot. When Aaron Jones, he could also break one because I'm not going to write him off. Like I think that it's going to be very much a tandem, and he's going to be a between the 20s guy. So I think he could also break one off. I think both running backs could be candidates for scoring a touchdown on Monday night. So I do think that there is juice on the Vikings side. I personally, I think we're all in lockstep there. I'm just a little bit of a JJ McCarthy doubter, and that's why I went with the Bears opening at home. But then you also got to consider too Ben Johnson, rookie head coach. A lot of rookie head coaches, it takes them a couple weeks to get that first win too. So maybe he's stepping into the perfect situation. Maybe he is like that boy wonder, that new head coach that can just find success right away, and it was only a matter of time. But I mean, hey, it was a lot easier for him to do his job when he was just the offensive coordinator and he had such a good staff to fill out the rest of that game going against Kevin O'Connell, who's a coach of the year guy. So, maybe this is where Kevin O'Connell can kind of use some of his veteran experience as a head coach and maybe win this chess match against Ben Johnson. So, I do think it was a bit of a coin flip. I definitely leaned Chicago, so I had to stay true to that, and then we had to flip the pick. But I mean, I do think that there are worse scenarios for the Costanza here. So
Yeah.
I think it's perfect that we end up getting Costanza into the.
Yeah, it feels right. It feels
Yep.
right. It's
well,
good
because
to be back.
this also was a pick where the doubt was kind of starting to creep into my mind, where I was like, "Am I kind of being a square here and taking those home
No, yeah, I
bets like
totally,
that?"
yeah.
And
Well,
that's why I said I kind of wanted to go third because I didn't want to just like make that choice and see where it goes. Like I was kind of hoping that I would be put in a position where I would be the one that ends up flipping the pick. Once I kind of got that vibe, I was like, oh shit, it's gonna be all three of us.
I do though. There is that element of like, yeah, Monday Night Football. The whole story is going to be Ben Johnson in Chicago. All this fanfare, Bears fans excited. This is it. This is the turn. Same old Bears.
Yep.
So I can
Poetic.
totally see that. I could totally see that playing out on Monday, which that was definitely in the back of my mind, and like you said, Kieran, like as I was going to that side, I was like, this probably feels and is chalky and square, but
Also,
it
like,
is what it is.
yeah, we talked about Ben Johnson a lot, but like Kevin O'Connell is like, I mean, one of the top coaches in the
He's
league
good.
right now. Like
He's great.
and
Yeah.
that's a no doubter. Like we know that for sure. I know Ben
Yeah.
Johnson projects to be, a good coach, but we know Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. So,
Yeah.
it's
And it's
not like
one of
there's
those
some big.
things too. I mean, typically when so many people lean onto one thing, I kind of like to start looking at that other side, and it does feel like there's so much kind of negativity being harbored towards JJ McCarthy that it's like maybe we are being a little too hard on the kid.
Hmm.
Bowen, I know this is something that we've talked about where it's like statistically you almost have to think he's going to be a bust just because what was it, six quarterbacks in that first round, five or six quarterbacks that were taken. It seems
Hmm.
like the rest of them are hits, at least in what we've seen. But I mean,
Penix, I'm not sold on.
yeah, but it's like, and it's like, maybe they're just all good. Maybe it really is like the greatest quarterback class of all time, or maybe a guy like Penix actually isn't that great. Maybe Bo Nix, he just had a hot rookie season. Maybe Drake May sucks. Like, who knows? Like, we don't actually know that these other guys are good either. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of get mixed signals on whether McCarthy was even the rookie quarterback that the Vikings wanted, or if they just couldn't trade up for a guy like Drake May and they kind of got stuck with him. But it's kind of like the whole situation with Darnold, the way that he moved out, but also the switch from Geno to Darnold in Seattle, and then going from Darnold to McCarthy here. It's like maybe it was just best for business in all parties, or maybe this was like the worst thing to happen to everybody involved. So. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Kevin O'Connell seems to maybe be like a quarterback wizard. Who knows at this point? But maybe he got his guy, and then this is really what he wants to do. But I do think that maybe they will be looking to go run heavy and kind of ease him in. So that's why I do like both of those Vikings running backs as well to
Yeah.
touchdown. Let me see
All
what
right.
that is.
Get the picks. All right, so we're going just to recap. Seahawks plus 2.5 over the Niners. That's my pick. We got the Browns +5 over the Bengals. That's Kieran's pick. We got the Rams -3 over the Texans. That's Bowen. Ravens -1 on Sunday night at Buffalo. Myself and Kieran on that side. Bowen was on the Bills. And then for Monday night, all three of us were on the Bears +1.5 against the Vikings. So we'll Costanza that pick. We'll be taking the Vikings -1.5.
Good to be back. It's real good to be back.
It was great to be back.
I can't believe we're getting cucked by this. You seen the 11:30 start time for
Yeah.
the game? I don't know if I'm gonna make that.
I don't know if I'm gonna do
Like that's late. That's a quarter and a half left.
I might. Well, this happened last year. What was it? Dallas and Pittsburgh? Wasn't there like a weather delay? And I think I fell asleep and like woke up at like 1:30 in the morning and saw like the last play of the game. It's probably the same thing. So, all right.
All right. Hey,
Good talk.
yeah,
Be out there.
Good.
talking
I'll
later.
see you guys.